Hi everybody, my name is Andrew and welcome to my channel. In my house and with my friends, a true sign that summer is over is making pretzel bites. My favorite recipe is from King Arthur's flour, and so that's what I'm going to make today. The recipe calls for 2.5 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, a packet of yeast, a cup of water, and also a teaspoon of sugar. So I'm going to mix all that together and get the dough going. Okay, all the ingredients are in the mixing bowl. I'm going to attach this to my mixer with the dough hook. Okay, so the dough is done mixing. It wasn't quite mixing as well as I thought it should have been, so I added a little bit more water to it. The recipe did have a range of amounts of water, so I think that was okay. The recipe says that now the dough needs to sit in a plastic bag. I don't have any that are large enough for the dough, so I'm hoping this plastic container will work. Needs to sit for about a half hour. While this is setting, I'm combining a cup of water with 2 tablespoons of baking soda. That's what we're going to mix the dough in. That's what actually makes it a pretzel and not just bread. So we'll check back in once the dough has risen and the baking soda water mix has cooled to room temperature. The dough is finished rising. We need to separate it into 6 equal parts. Once you've separated the dough, you should roll it out into lengths of 12 to 15 inches. Doesn't have to be perfect. Out the dough, you should cut each rope into about 12 pieces or about 1 inch each. I'm just going to use some kitchen scissors, be a little easy. Now that the dough is cut, I'm going to put all of the pieces into the baking soda and water mixture. This container is a little bit small for this, so I'm just gonna kind of mix it up with my hands. Should leave it in there for a minute or so. I've let the dough set for a couple minutes, and I'm gonna put it on this baking sheet. I'm using parchment paper. You can grease the sheet up as well, but I find the parchment paper to be a lot easier to use and makes the cleanup a bit easier as well. One of the great things about making these bites is that they don't really get much bigger once you put them in the oven. So you can really fill up the baking sheet here and you don't have to worry about them really getting in each other's way. Does that make sense? That doesn't make sense. What am I saying? Help me! I like to put coarse sea salt on the top of my pretzel bite, so that should be done before baking. I'm just gonna put the salt on top. I'm going to put these in a 400-degree oven and cook them for about 12 to 15 minutes until they're golden brown. The pretzels are all done. It took about 12 minutes for them to bake. I don't feel like I need to cook them anymore. They're getting pretty dark brown on some of the edges. The best part of these pretzels probably is all the butter that you get to put on them. The recipe says that you should roll the bites in butter, but I find that to be a little bit too much butter, if that's even possible. And so I like to use this I don't know, kitchen brush. Is that what you call them? I don't know. I like to use this thing to just brush the butter on the top. That seems to be enough. They don't get really soggy, and if you have any leftovers, then you don't have congealed butter at the bottom of your bowl or serving dish or whatever. So I'm just going to brush the butter on top of the bites. After I brush the butter on these, I like to put them on a plate or a serving tray or in a bowl or something that just looks a little bit nicer than the baking sheet. make these pretzel bites a lot in the fall and in the winter. In any party or gathering or dinner or anything that I've ever brought these to, they're usually the first things to go. These things are awesome. I have a couple of people behind the camera that don't want it to be on film that are testing them out, and I'm getting 2 thumbs up from both of them, so they must be pretty great. Something I really like about this recipe is how easy it is, and it really doesn't take that much time. You have to let the dough rise for about a half hour, but other than that, it's really only hands-on work for maybe 20 minutes. So a last minute thing. Almost all the ingredients for this recipe are pretty standard items or ingredients in your kitchen. The yeast might not be something that you have on hand. I usually buy yeast in like strips of 3, and so I'll always have 1 or 2 on hand. So this recipe is really great last minute. These pretzel bites keep pretty well overnight. Just wrap them, keep them at room temperature, and heat them up before you serve them. Of course, they're best served fresh out of the oven, but if you want to make them the night before, then that's perfectly fine. Each year when it starts to get cold, I feel like I just need to bake all the time. I don't know if it's because the kitchen's nice and warm, or something about getting ready to hibernate for the winter. I'm not really sure, but I really enjoy spending a lot of time in the kitchen. So throughout this year and as the winter progresses, probably going to be a lot of videos of me sharing recipes that I really enjoy or trying out new recipes that other YouTubers have shown. So I hope you'll stay tuned for those. Please subscribe, hit that like button, comment down below if there's something else you'd like me to do. If you know this recipe and you enjoy it, I'd love to hear from more of you. Thanks for tuning in. Bye!